Wang Lin furrowed his brows as he looked at the boy in front of him. He said calmly, "I'm not going." The boy was Situ. After successfully seizing a body, he had devoured the fourth ancestor, speeding up the process of integrating his body. Although the fusion was not complete, his cultivation had already reached the ascendant realm. "You're such a buzzkill. Cultivating immortality, what's the point? Do you know why I started cultivating immortality?" Situ rolled his eyes and said, "I'll tell you. The reason I pursued immortality was to dominate all the beauties of the world, seize all the treasures, and eliminate anyone I found displeasing. That was my real goal when I cultivated on the 4 Saint Star. Otherwise, who could endure the monotony of cultivation? When I reached the foundation establishment stage, I decided to give up on cultivation. I secretly escaped to a small country with almost no cultivators. I became a prince there, lived a life of luxury, with women serving me every day. The pleasures were unmatched. Whenever I ran into someone I didn't like, I just cast a spell and take care of them immediately. I stayed there for 10 years. Situnan's eyes gleamed with nostalgia, clearly fond of those days. Wang Lin moved slightly, flying forward, and said flatly, "If it was so comfortable, why didn't you just stay there for life?" Situnan's face twisted with frustration. "You think I didn't want to? If not for some damn core formation cultivator coming after me, I could have stayed there for the rest of my life. This core formation cultivator was stronger than me, and I barely managed to escape. After that, I gritted my teeth and resumed my cultivation. I spent decades training, finally reaching the late stage of core formation before leaving seclusion." Wang Lin chuckled softly, looking at Situ. "And then you went for revenge? Revenge? Hell no. That core formation cultivator had already been taken out. After I came out of seclusion, I found a secondary cultivation nation and kept living the good life, with foundation establishment female cultivators by my side every day. It was paradise. In the mortal emperor's palace, I was like a king, treated the same as the emperor. That emperor was a good little guy. He gave me whatever I wanted. Thinking back on those days, I can't help but feel nostalgic." Wang Lin stroked his chin and smiled. "Let me guess, you then ran into a nascent soul cultivator?" Situnan's eyes widened. "Exactly. Not even 3 years had passed before some blind nascent soul cultivator came after one of my foundation establishment women. I couldn't beat him, so I had to run. Damn it, I was so angry. I went into seclusion again. This time, I broke through to the late nascent soul stage before coming out. From then on, in every third-level cultivation nation, I alternated between being a prince, enjoying the world's beauties. Countless fellow cultivators envied my life." Wang Lin laughed heartily. "And then? Did you run into a spirit transformation cultivator?" Situnan sighed. "Bad luck. In less than 10 years, I killed someone and got into trouble with a mid-stage spirit transformation cultivator. I almost died. Luckily, a first-generation Vermilion bird saved me. At that time, he wasn't even the Vermilion bird yet. That's how I met Yuuyo. But his cultivation wasn't high then, and he couldn't protect me forever. Eventually, I had no choice but to abandon my beauties and escape again. This time, I got smart. I went into seclusion, comprehended life, and broke through to spirit transformation. I eventually reached the late spirit transformation stage before coming out." Wang Lin found Situnan's cultivation journey amusing and asked, "And then?" "Then, of course, I took revenge. I went to find that mid-stage spirit transformation cultivator and took him out. After that, I found another cultivation nation and went back to enjoying myself. But unfortunately, the good times didn't last. Yuuyo found me and said we should go to the immortal realm together. That led to the immortal realm journey, gathering a lot of immortal jade. While I was in seclusion, I reached the infant metamorphosis stage. I was planning to find another cultivation nation to become a prince, since with my cultivation at the time, there wouldn't be many who could challenge me. I didn't want to cultivate anymore. It was too boring. I just wanted to spend the rest of my life in luxury. But that old bastard Yuuyo, he convinced me to play bigger. He wanted to create a 6th-level cultivation nation beyond the 4 Saint Star. We'd do whatever we wanted there. I was too muddled and fell for his scheme, agreeing to it. Damn it. For that dream, I worked day and night, cultivating and traveling with him. In the end, he became the head of all the sects in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Together, we struggled and managed to develop a 4th-level cultivation nation into a 6th-level one. The Cultivation Alliance rewarded us with this godforsaken Vermilion Bird Star. At that time, I, with a heart full of passion, wanted to have some fun on the Vermilion Bird Star. But unfortunately, I didn't expect the Immortal Remnant clan to be here. They dared to take what was mine, and I couldn't let them off. The battle that ensued was chaotic, with the skies darkened. A few of the women from the Immortal Remnant clan were quite good, so I took them for myself and had my way with them. Later, Yuio sacrificed himself to seal the Immortal Remnant clan with a few old friends. I was disheartened and ready to leave Vermilion Bird Star, planning to find a weaker cultivation star and continue living as a prince. But unfortunately, Yuio, that old rascal, even schemed against me in his last moments, making me the second-generation Vermilion bird. You know what happened next. My body was destroyed, and I hid inside the heavenly reversal until I met you. Now that I have a new body, I'll first take revenge. After that, I'll go to the Phoenix One Star and have some fun. I'll find a cultivation nation there and continue my life as a prince. Let me tell you, Wang Lin, cultivation is almost enough, but life should be enjoyed to the fullest. Situ Nan's eyes revealed a hint of sentiment, as if he had seen through the nature of life itself. I walk a different path than you. Wang Lin said indifferently, his gaze calm. He had listened to Situ Nan's life story, but he knew deep down that he could never be that carefree, indulging in all of life's pleasures. Wang Lin had, over time, begun to pursue the true essence of cultivation. He wanted to know where the end of cultivation lay. This was where he and Situ Nan differed. Situ Nan had his own brilliance, and Wang Lin had his own pride. His pride was to walk step by step to the peak, to reach the pinnacle of cultivation, to dominate the world, and to understand the true nature of the Tao. Situ Nan looked at Wang Lin seriously for the first time. He suddenly realized that he had never truly understood this child who had grown up before him. Especially now, he felt a bit of unfamiliarity toward Wang Lin, but there was also a faint sense of recognition. The unfamiliarity came from the expression on Wang Lin's face, an expression of pride in his own path. Situ Nan hated this expression, for he had seen it before, on someone he both respected and despised, Yuio, the first-generation Vermilion bird. Psychologically, Yuio had always been like an older brother to Situ Nan, a mentor and friend. Despite his rebellious nature, Situ Nan valued loyalty. Yuio had done many favors for him, some of which he could never express but had engraved in his heart. Because of his nature, even though he wanted to leave, he gave up his ideals and became the second-generation Vermilion bird, primarily to protect the Vermilion bird star for Yuio. From the moment he met Yuio, that same expression had been on his face, and even when Yuio died, he remained proud. From a low-ranking disciple of a level 4 cultivation nation, he gradually rose to the top, becoming the head of a sect, and eventually, he controlled all the sects in the country, becoming the ruler of a nation. He then, with great determination, raised his level 4 cultivation nation to level 5, and after taking another leap, achieved level 6. Achieving a level 6 cultivation nation, he was granted Vermilion Bird Star. All of this was because he was Yuio. If it weren't for him, Vermilion Bird Nation would still be an insignificant level 4 cultivation nation on the 4 holy stars, and its destruction would be likely. At this moment, Situ Nan saw the same expression on Wang Lin's face. He felt deeply conflicted, sighing inwardly and saying, "Forget it. It's too early to talk about this now. The most important thing is to get you into the Vermilion Bird Tomb to retrieve your life soul from the Star Cultivation Crystal." Wang Lin, the Vermilion Bird Tomb is covered by the mysterious power of the Star Cultivation Crystal. Only the Vermilion Bird Patriarch can enter, and only infant metamorphosis cultivators can enter. I can't assist you this time, but don't worry, even if you fail to retrieve the life soul, I have methods to help you recover it, though it's very troublesome. If you can get it yourself, that would be best. Wang Lin nodded, looking towards Vermilion Bird Nation, and said calmly, "The matter of Vermilion Bird Star should be settled. After I retrieve the Star Cultivation Crystal, I'll leave Vermilion Bird Star. Situ, the starry sky is vast. I hope we'll meet again someday." After saying this, Wang Lin transformed into a streak of light and flew far away. Situ Nan laughed heartily, moving swiftly to catch up with Wang Lin, flying alongside him. He laughed and said, "It's too early to say all that. We'll talk when we part ways, but I believe we'll meet again. If nothing else, I'll be in the Phoenix One Star, living as a prince." "Situ, what realm lies beyond the pinnacle?" Wang Lin suddenly asked as they flew. The realm above the peak of aspiration is something that ordinary cultivators will not know. It is not simply about reaching the nascent soul or spirit transformation stages, which are widely known to all cultivators. Only a handful of cultivators ever reach this level, Situ Nan said in a low voice. The peak of aspiration is both a pinnacle and a threshold. The majority of cultivators with great divine powers stagnate at this threshold, unable to ascend any further until their lifespan is exhausted and they die. But once they break through this barrier and touch the edge of the next realm, their lifespan will extend countless times. Though they won't live as long as the heavens and earth, they can still live for a very long time. Before I entered the Tion Ni Pearl, I had some insights. It was due to the strange power of Tion Ni that I was able to exist for tens of thousands of years without perishing. But that doesn't mean my lifespan is infinite. When the time comes, if I haven't broken through, I will still pass away. There have been those who escape the cycle of reincarnation, but they are usually lower-level cultivators. Reaching the peak of aspiration makes it incredibly difficult to escape reincarnation. The heavenly Tao of reincarnation will generate different forces of reincarnation based on a cultivator's cultivation level. That's why I said earlier that lower-level cultivators have much higher chances of escaping reincarnation, provided they have the help of higher-level cultivators. Wang Lin nodded, recalling the time when he had helped Li Muan fight against the reincarnation messenger. After the peak of aspiration comes the 3 realms of shattered nirvana. Situ took a deep breath, a hint of emotion in his eyes. The 3 realms of shattered nirvana? Wang Lin's gaze flickered. Yes, the 3 realms of shattered nirvana. It was mentioned to me by Yi Wuyo, the first-generation Vermilion bird, after he returned from receiving rewards from the Cultivation Alliance. Otherwise, I would have only known about it after I became the Vermilion bird myself. Situ sighed lightly, a touch of nostalgia and longing in his tone. The 3 realms of shattered nirvana are the first realm, glimpse of nirvana, the second realm, pure nirvana, and the third realm, shattered nirvana. These 3 realms represent the supreme path after the peak of aspiration, Situ said solemnly. Wang Lin inhaled deeply, his brow furrowed as he asked, what comes after the 3 realms of shattered nirvana? Is it the peak of cultivation? Situ shook his head and said, it's not that simple. The 3 realms of shattered nirvana are only the second step of the cultivation journey. However, a cultivator who reaches the great perfection of shattered nirvana can be considered a formidable figure in the Cultivation Alliance. Few would dare provoke them. It's rumored that even some of the old monsters in the Cultivation Alliance have never truly broken through shattered nirvana. Wang Lin thought for a moment, then looked at Situ and asked, have you reached glimpse of nirvana? Situ bitterly smiled and shook his head, replying, it's not that easy. Between the peak of aspiration and glimpse of nirvana, there are still 2 thresholds, the dual intent of yin and yang. This dual intent is about changes in the realm of artistic conception. It is not simply a difference between illusion and reality, but a deeper understanding. Each person's path is unique, and I can't explain it in detail. Only after undergoing the cleansing of the yin and yang intent can one be qualified to enter the initial stage of glimpse of nirvana. Before I entered the Tion Ni Pearl, I had reached the edge of the yin intent. During the tens of thousands of years I spent inside Tion Ni, though I couldn't cultivate, I gained profound insights. My yin intent reached perfection, and now I just need to experience the cleansing of the yang intent, find a secluded place, and break through to the glimpse of nirvana stage. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he asked, what cultivation level is Yi Wuyo at? Is he also at the dual intent stage before glimpse of nirvana? Situ eyes flashed with a hint of disdain as he replied, him? He's at the late stage of peak of aspiration. In this life, he probably won't have the chance to comprehend the yin and yang intent, let alone reach glimpse of nirvana. However, he is a special type of peak of aspiration cultivator. Though he is still no match for someone who has comprehended yin and yang, a regular late-stage peak of aspiration cultivator wouldn't stand a chance against him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he muttered, Cultivation Alliance, Vermilion bird title. Situ eyes showed appreciation as he nodded, exactly. He is a titled peak of aspiration cultivator. This type of cultivator stands at the pinnacle of the peak of aspiration because they possess a special divine ability granted by the Cultivation Alliance. When Yi Wuyo returned from the Cultivation Alliance, he gained a great divine art called the Vermilion bird seal. This seal is incredibly powerful, and unless one has completely comprehended the yin and yang intent, it is almost unbeatable within the peak of aspiration. However, divine arts granted by the Cultivation Alliance, like immortal treasures, are also ranked by their tier. The Vermilion bird seal is a low-tier divine art, but it is enough to significantly increase the strength of a titled peak of aspiration cultivator. Unfortunately, the Vermilion bird seal can only be used after inheriting the star cultivation heart. Otherwise, even if you learn it, your strength won't increase significantly. Wang Lin paused for a moment, his eyes flashing as he asked, "You mentioned that immortal treasures are ranked by tier?" Of course, Situ Nan's eyes narrowed. Immortal treasures are items that harness immortal power. These treasures are divided into low, medium, and high tiers. Situ Nan's gaze became serious as he continued. It's rumored that above immortal treasures, there is another class of treasures. Only cultivators at the shattered nirvana stage can use them. They are incredibly powerful. I suspect that the Tian and I Pearl is one of these treasures. Wang Lin rubbed his brow, pondering for a moment, before tapping his storage pouch. With the immortal sword in hand, he looked at Situ Nan and asked, "What do you think of this flying sword? What tier does it belong to?" Upon seeing the immortal sword, Situ Nan's eyes suddenly brightened. With a flick of his right hand, the sword flew into his grasp. Holding it, he ran his left hand over the blade, closed his eyes, and quietly felt its presence. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. He trusted Situ Nan deeply. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let him examine the immortal sword. After a moment, Situ Nan suddenly opened his eyes wide, a fierce gleam shining in them. Holding the sword, he felt the flow of immortal power within him. The sword emitted a tremendous sword light, far stronger than when it was in Wang Lin's hands, exponentially more powerful. "Good sword," Situ Nan murmured. He casually waved his right hand forward. Boom, boom, boom. A series of earth-shattering explosions rang out from the void. Immediately, an enormous, seemingly endless rift appeared, like a menacing wound in the air. A fierce, cold wind howled out of the rift, and in the blink of an eye, the earth was nearly transformed into an icy ocean. "Good sword." Situ Nan ran his hand over the blade and looked up at Wang Lin. In a deep voice, he asked, "Where did you get this sword?" "From the immortal realm. It was the possession of an old friend," Wang Lin replied, his gaze unwaveringly calm. "This is a mid-tier immortal treasure. It's a pity that the sword's soul hasn't fully merged with the sword, limiting its power. Also, this sword shouldn't be the only one. When I held it, I felt something was missing. This sword should be one of 4. When all 4 are combined, it can become a rare high-tier immortal treasure. Unfortunately, once an immortal treasure reaches the mid-tier, it acquires a soul technique. This soul isn't like the soul of a cultivator, but rather a unique method of use. Without this method, the sword can't unleash its full power." "Good sword." Situ Nan almost couldn't bear to put it down. "Mid-tier immortal treasure?" Wang Lin furrowed his brow. He had originally thought this sword was a high-tier immortal treasure. Situ Nan's eyes widened in displeasure. "What? You don't value a mid-tier immortal treasure? Let me tell you, there are limited mid-tier immortal treasures in the entire starry sky. Up until now, I haven't heard of anyone who can forge a mid-tier immortal treasure. Low-tier ones, sure, some cultivators can refine them, but mid-tier treasures are beyond anyone's ability to forge. All the mid-tier and higher immortal treasures are relics of the immortal realm." He continued, "Most of the immortal treasures in the hands of cultivators are low-tier. Mid-tier ones are rare. When you leave Vermilion Birdstar, you'll understand just how precious mid-tier immortal treasures are. They could almost start a war." Wang Lin's expression shifted. He recalled his time in the immortal realm, where Sword Master Ling Tianho and several old monsters had waged a frenzied battle for the immortal sword. These cultivators' power far exceeded that of the highest ranks, and even they had gone mad for the sword. This made Situ Nan's words seem to have some truth. A mid-tier immortal treasure is already rare, and high-tier treasures are even rarer. I've been cultivating for years, and although I've traveled through many cultivation stars, I've never seen a high-tier immortal treasure. "You really are lucky." Situ Nan snorted lightly. "Do you have the soul technique for this sword?" Situ Nan looked up and asked. Wang Lin thought for a moment before replying, "I have a clue, but I haven't been able to find it." "Oh? Tell me about it," Situ Nan immediately asked. Wang Lin shook his head. "It's something from the past. Let's not talk about it." Situ Nan smiled slightly and looked at Wang Lin. "How about giving me this sword?" Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan and asked, "Are you serious?" Situ Nan hesitated for a moment, sighed, and threw the immortal sword to Wang Lin. "Fine, if it were anyone else, I'd just snatch it. But since it's yours, I really can't bring myself to take it." Wang Lin smiled and took the sword from the immortal realm. "This sword isn't mine. Otherwise, I'd give it to you." Situ Nan snorted. "If I hadn't already lost my storage pouch, I wouldn't even care about this treasure. Back in the day, I had 2 low-tier immortal treasures. Vermilion Bird Patriarch's immortal treasures, plenty." Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he spoke with a slight smile. Those treasures of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch were all low-tier, not to mention that most of them were collected by the first Vermilion Bird, Yiwuyo. I didn't feel right snatching them, Situ said with a look of regret in his eyes. Situ, what do you think of this item? What tier is it? Wang Lin paused for a moment, then tapped his storage pouch. The beast-taming ring appeared in his hand. He tossed it, and with a bang, it transformed into the divine chariot, hovering ominously in front of them. The soul beast mounted on it immediately opened its vicious eyes, growling as it emerged from the chariot, letting out a deafening roar. Upon seeing the chariot, Situ froze for a moment. Then his eyes immediately gleamed with bright light. Low tier? Huh. Wang Lin's eyes flickered. He had 3 of these divine chariots. This one was the smallest, while the others were several times more powerful, especially the last one, which was even more formidable. The technique of crafting immortal treasures from the souls of immortal beasts is something I once read about in ancient texts. Only the immortal realm could create such treasures. After the destruction of the immortal realm, this kind of artifact almost vanished. Unfortunately, while these treasures may be considered low-tier immortal artifacts, they, like mid-tier ones, require special seals to use. Without the proper seals, they can only be used with difficulty and cannot unleash their full power. It's truly a shame. Situ sighed, feeling some respect in his heart for Wang Lin. He thought to himself, though this young man's cultivation isn't high, he possesses many powerful treasures. When Situ was at that stage, he didn't even have a single immortal artifact in his possession. Wang Lin glanced at Situ then took out a jade slip from his storage pouch. His divine sense moved, leaving behind a few marks on it. He tossed the slip to Situ. Take a look at this, he said. Situ caught the jade slip, probing it with his divine sense. His expression immediately changed, and he raised his head to stare at Wang Lin. This is the seal to control this immortal treasure? That's right. With this seal, you can control the divine chariot. And I can guarantee that this seal was left behind by the very person who crafted the chariot. Wang Lin nodded, a faint smile playing at the corner of his mouth as he looked at Situ. Situ quickly put the jade slip away and chuckled. Are you trying to give me this divine chariot? Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he made a hand gesture, pointing at the divine chariot from afar. Suddenly, the chariot shuddered, and a black light flickered from it, transforming into a beast-taming ring that flew toward Wang Lin. Why not? Wang Lin said, grabbing the beast-taming ring and storing it in his pouch. If Situ wanted to take revenge but lacked powerful artifacts, Wang Lin was a bit concerned. With this treasure, Situ chances of success would greatly increase. Without the beast-taming ring's control, the soul beast on the chariot immediately roared, wrapping around the divine chariot and charging off into the distance. Situ laughed loudly, his body flashing as he immediately gave chase. Don't run, come and play with me, he shouted. In the Vermilion bird continent, the 4 great armies of the immortal remnant clan were advancing from all 4 directions, their black mist swirling and threatening to obscure the sky. In the eastern army of the immortal remnant clan, the 5th ancestor's eyes flashed with a cold gleam. With a wave of his right hand, he muttered softly, the 3-month deadline is nearing. The fall of the Vermilion bird nation is upon us. As soon as his words fell, his body suddenly moved, causing a large swirl of black mist to rise, and with it, his immortal remnant clan followers who howled as they rushed towards the Vermilion bird nation, specifically the Vermilion bird mountain at its center. At the same time, the other 3 armies of the immortal remnant clan also surged forward, all aiming for the final assault on the Vermilion bird nation. On the Vermilion bird continent, 2 massive reincarnation trees now shimmered with a green glow, from which 2 ancestral spirits radiating crystalline light emerged. These 2 ancestral spirits each bore a 10-leaf plant symbol in the center of their foreheads. As they appeared, they too moved swiftly towards the Vermilion bird nation. The defensive lines of the Vermilion bird nation immediately began to falter under the relentless assault of the immortal remnant clan, retreating step by step. This was a great battle, and the entire Vermilion bird continent trembled. The sounds of countless magical and divine techniques filled the air, constantly echoing across the land. On the Vermilion bird mountain, the Vermilion bird patriarch stood, his red robe billowing in the wind, his white hair flowing gently. His figure remained motionless, unwavering. Chu Yunfei had left, and the Earth Soul sect's venerable expert had also gone into hiding, retreating into seclusion. Now, on the entire Vermilion bird mountain, only the Vermilion bird patriarch remained, a soul cultivator of the ascension stage. His figure radiated a sense of decline and loneliness, but more than that, there was an aura of madness. Vermilion bird stars cultivators, I am the Vermilion bird patriarch. You no longer need to guard the area. Let all the Immortal Remnant clan members come. Qianfeng, Lumei, you two come as well. The Patriarch's divine sense swept across the entire Vermilion bird continent. Upon hearing his voice, the cultivators stationed to defend Vermilion bird star paused, sighing inwardly, and scattered in all directions to escape. With no cultivators left to resist, the armies from the four directions of the Immortal Remnant clan swept forward like a wild storm towards the central Vermilion bird mountain. From a high vantage point, one could see the entire Vermilion bird continent now shrouded in four thick black mists, which rapidly expanded toward the center at incredible speed. The Vermilion bird patriarch, hands clasped behind his back, gazed up at the blue sky and murmured to himself, "Everything will come to an end." Before long, two figures appeared in the distance, one male and one female. They approached and stopped beside the Vermilion bird patriarch. It was Qianfeng and Lumei. Qianfeng, clad in black, his eyes gleaming with an eerie light, looked at the Vermilion bird patriarch with a somber expression, but said nothing. Lumei, still as beautiful as ever, wore a white gown that made her look like an ethereal fairy. Her brow furrowed deeply, and she remained silent. The strength of Vermilion bird star cannot resist the Immortal Remnant clan. Today, Qianfeng, Lumei, you two will face a life and death test. Whether you live or die depends on your fate, the Vermilion bird patriarch said, his voice filled with a trace of desolation. At this moment, above the sky, black mist raged like furious waves from all directions. From the eastern black mist, a single figure appeared. This man, middle-aged and wearing gray robes, looked like a scholar. In the blink of an eye, he was 100 feet away from the Vermilion bird patriarch. He stopped and said calmly, "Vermilion bird patriarch, I am the fifth ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan." A figure emerged from the black mist in the west. This person appeared quite young, with an appearance filled with rune markings, but unlike others, these markings were not black, they were golden. If Wang Lin were here, he would recognize this person instantly. The young clan leader of the Immortal Remnant clan, "I greet you, Vermilion bird patriarch," the figure said calmly. In the southern black mist, three people stepped out. With a single step, they crossed the distance and appeared within 100 feet of Vermilion bird patriarch. Two of them appeared as ethereal figures, staring at the Vermilion bird patriarch without saying a word. The third figure was a woman, her eyes filled with charm and her beauty striking. She glanced at the Vermilion bird patriarch, giving a slight smile before speaking, "I am the third ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan. I greet you, Vermilion bird patriarch. These two by my side are the ancestral spirits of my clan, returned to the mortal realm." From the northern mist, Yunkeizi's figure slowly emerged. He looked at the Vermilion bird patriarch and spoke softly, "Senior brother." The Vermilion bird patriarch suddenly turned his head, fixing his gaze on Yunkeizi, and coldly said, "Should I call you Yunkeizi, or second ancestor?" Yunkeizi shook his head and said, "It's just a title, senior brother. You can call me as you wish. All of you have shown yourselves." Then the Immortal Remnant clan's only 11-leaved spell curse master, first ancestor, "You should come out as well." Vermilion bird patriarch's eyes flashed with cold light as he looked toward the sky. A burst of multicolored crystal light appeared in the air, gathering into a nearly transparent figure that slowly solidified and descended from the sky. It looked at Vermilion bird patriarch and slowly spoke, "Vermilion bird patriarch." This first ancestor appeared quite ordinary, without any remarkable features. But with a single palm strike, he had forced Chu Yunfei to retreat. His strength was immense, almost on par with the late stage of the Ascendant Realm cultivators, and in some ways, even surpassing them. "Senior brother, we do not wish to destroy the Vermilion bird star, but only seek a way for coexistence. If you agree to hand over the star cultivation crystal, this battle can be avoided. We will divide the Vermilion bird star into two, and never interfere with each other," Yunkeizi said in a deep voice. Vermilion bird patriarch laughed loudly, a mocking look in his eyes as he replied, "If not for your fear of me destroying the star cultivation crystal, I'm sure you would have attacked together already. Why all this pointless talk? Arrogant." The fifth ancestor's eyes flickered, and he slapped his forehead. Immediately, a rune appeared in front of him. With his left hand, he tapped the rune, spat out a mouthful of blood, and shouted, "Seal." The rune instantly turned blood red, emitting an eerie, crimson light. With a flash, it shot toward the Vermilion bird patriarch. The fifth ancestor knew that Vermilion bird patriarch was strong, so this strike was just a test. He didn't even approach him. Vermilion bird patriarch's eyes glinted with cold light, and he sneered. He made no visible movement, but the golden light in front of him flickered. Immediately, the descending rune was met with a series of cracking sounds. Tiny lines appeared, and in an instant, the rune shattered with a loud crash. At the same time, the fifth ancestor's expression changed. His body quickly retreated, and a blood spot appeared on his forehead, with blood trickling down. The first ancestor of the immortal remnant clan furrowed his brow, and with a single step, he appeared before the fifth ancestor. He reached out and instantly held a golden needle in his hand. But the moment the needle appeared, it vanished without a trace. Vermilion Bird Patriarch's expression turned cold. He leaped into the air, moving so quickly that only the first ancestor and Xun'er could keep up with his speed. Vermilion Bird Seal, attack. Vermilion Bird Patriarch's aged voice echoed through the air. His figure appeared in midair, and with the point of his right hand, the heavens and earth seemed to change color. A massive wave of flames suddenly erupted from his body, spreading rapidly and covering an area of 1,000 feet in an instant. The ground cracked under the intense heat. Except for Xun'er and the first ancestor, everyone else quickly retreated, avoiding the impact of the flames. At the same time, a fire phoenix emerged from Vermilion Bird Patriarch's body, screeching as it soared through the sky. Its body shrank, resembling a meteor, and fell from the sky toward the fifth ancestor. The first ancestor moved, charging into the air, his body emanating black light. He raised his right hand, and a strange 11-leaved plant bloomed at his brow. One of its leaves instantly fell and floated toward the point where his finger was aimed. Its speed was so fast that the fire phoenix landed on the fifth ancestor before anyone could react. Boom! The fire phoenix vanished with a loud explosion. The fifth ancestor let out a pained scream as his body was immediately engulfed in flames. 3 breaths later, he died. Vermilion Bird Patriarch's face turned pale, his eyes dimmed, and a heavy aura of death surrounded him. The Vermilion Bird Seal, powered by his lifespan, could only be used twice. After 2 uses, he would die. Once the Vermilion Bird Seal locked onto its target, it could not be changed. Nothing in the world could stop it. It would not harm the first ancestor, but for the fifth ancestor, it was a certain death. If the target was the first ancestor or Xun'er, the Vermilion Bird Seal would not have the effect of an instant kill. However, it could still cause injury. Therefore, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch did not use it on the first ancestor or Xun'er, but instead, killed the weaker fifth ancestor in one blow, gaining the upper hand in momentum. Vermilion Bird Seal, the first ancestor stared at the Vermilion Bird Patriarch and said, word by word. The death of the fifth ancestor seemed utterly ordinary to the members of the Immortal Remnant clan, with no signs of sorrow or anger. Senior brother, you still have one more strike. However, after this strike, your lifespan will be completely severed and you will die. I will give you 3 months. I'm sure you've thought it through. Will you sacrifice the lives of all the cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star to annihilate my Immortal Remnant clan? Or will you agree to divide Vermilion Bird Star in half, as I proposed? I need your answer. Xun'er said calmly. A trace of madness flashed in the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's eyes, and he laughed wildly. My junior brother, with what you know of me, what do you think I will choose? How about we make a game of it? If you win, Vermilion Bird Star is yours, but if you lose, all the cultivators of your Immortal Remnant clan will be buried with you on Vermilion Bird Star. Xun'er's gaze remained calm as he spoke. Oh? Tell me more. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch laughed wildly, a cold gleam flashing in his eyes, and said, the star cultivation crystal, hidden in the generations of the Vermilion Bird Tomb, is available for all cultivators in the infant metamorphosis stage to enter. If you fail to obtain it, I will detonate the star cultivation crystal. At that time, we will all perish together. Either the Cultivation Alliance will come to investigate and wipe out your Immortal Remnant clan, or the power of the Star Cultivation Crystal will be strong enough to engulf your clan, wiping out every single member born in your Immortal Remnant clan over the past tens of thousands of years. Xun'er smiled faintly and said, the Star Cultivation Crystal contains the life souls of all cultivators. If you detonate it, your 2 disciples will accompany you to the Netherworld. As he spoke, he casually glanced at Qianfeng and Lu Mei. Hearing this, Qianfeng's eyes immediately showed a strange glint. He looked at Lu Mei beside him, who furrowed her brows tighter. The old man hides his plans well. So, the Star Cultivation Crystal has such a function. Qianfeng's eyes flickered with a cold light. Life and death are determined by fate. Qianfeng, Lu Mei, I give you two a chance to enter the Vermilion bird tomb and reclaim your life souls. If you can retrieve them, you will survive. If you fail, don't blame me, the Vermilion bird patriarch said. With that, he waved his sleeve, his hair fluttering without wind. He muttered a spell and then spat out a mouthful of blood. A red light flashed from his chest, forming into a heart-shaped red crystal. Shatter! The Vermilion bird patriarch shouted with increasing madness. The heart-shaped red crystal immediately cracked, the cracks multiplying rapidly, as if it could shatter at any moment. At this moment, every cultivator on Vermilion Birdstar, no matter where they were, what they were doing, or even those who had left Vermilion Birdstar long ago but had yet to reach the pinnacle of cultivation, felt their minds tremble. From the 6th-level Vermilion Bird Kingdom to the 1st-level Cultivation Kingdom, and even the common folk on Vermilion Birdstar, all of them felt a sharp pain in their heads. This pain came from the very depths of their souls, uncontrollable. Even some cultivators who practiced soul techniques could only alleviate it slightly, but they could not stop it. Cultivators who were fleeing, those healing from injuries, or those confused about how to face this battle all felt the same soul-crushing pain at that moment. This pain seemed as though one more second could cause someone to collapse, one more breath could drive someone mad, one more heartbeat could bring instant death. Among the mortals, from the royalty to the commoners, everyone on Vermilion Birdstar trembled in their bodies. This pain knew no distinction of identity or cultivation. As long as one was born on this star in the past tens of thousands of years, they could not escape. Besides humans, every plant, animal, and beast on Vermilion Birdstar also felt the shadow of imminent death, as if the heavens themselves were collapsing, filling their hearts with panic. On the Vermilion Bird Road, the members of the Immortal Remnant clan who were heading towards Vermilion Bird Mountain also felt this. Though their sensation was weaker, they too felt as though their fate was in someone else's grasp, as if a single squeeze could send them into madness. The power of the star cultivation crystal surpassed everyone's expectations. Even the Vermilion Bird Patriarch could feel the cold breath of death. At that moment, he suddenly understood something. So this is how the Cultivation Alliance's star cultivation crystal works. At that moment, the pursuers stopped chasing, and the escapees ceased running. The entire Vermilion Birdstar seemed to be still, with only heavy breaths and deep fear remaining. Xun'er also felt the sharp pain. His expression changed slightly. Although he had already suspected something at this moment, he still felt his mind tremble. The third ancestor's face changed drastically, his face darkened like water, and his silver teeth were tightly clenched. Though the first ancestor's expression remained unchanged, his heart was filled with bitterness. He regretted that the Immortal Remnant clan had appeared too soon. He should have listened to Xun'er's advice and dealt with the situation more gently, cultivating the next generation of Vermilion Bird Patriarchs and secretly manipulating things. This would have been the best approach. But now, it was too late. Beside the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, Qianfeng's face turned pale as he glared at the Vermilion Bird Patriarch with anger in his eyes. Only Lu Mei seemed somewhat downcast, gazing into the distance with furrowed brows, silent and not saying a word. A crazed gleam in the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's eyes slowly faded, replaced by clarity for a brief moment. But soon, the clarity vanished. He took a deep breath and laughed wildly, saying, "The star cultivation core hasn't shattered completely. It is slowly and steadily cracking. When it fully shatters, that will be the moment the star cultivation crystal collapses. Xun'er, the game begins now. Let's see if your Immortal Remnant clan can seize the star cultivation crystal before it collapses. If you succeed, I believe you'll have a way to prevent its destruction. At that point, Vermilion Birdstar will be yours. Old Man will give it to you. But if you fail to obtain it, or if you can't prevent its collapse after obtaining it, then you and I will share the same fate. Both of us will perish together." As he spoke, he slapped his right hand behind him into the void, and immediately, a series of booming sounds echoed from the entire Vermilion Bird Mountain. The ground trembled violently, wind and sand swirling. Soon after, the mountain split in two with earth-shattering roars. A dark passage suddenly appeared before everyone. The Vermilion Bird Tomb is open. Xun'er, this game begins now. You understand the rules of the Vermilion Bird Tomb. Anyone below the level of Ascendant can enter freely, but Ascendant cultivators cannot. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's eyes glowed with madness. The first ancestor stared at the slowly cracking star cultivation core, his gaze flashing. He was about to take action, but Xun'er shook his head and whispered, "It's useless. The star cultivation crystal and the Vermilion Bird Patriarch have already merged into one. Even if he doesn't take it out, it will still collapse. What he's doing is putting pressure on us, forcing us to watch the arrival of death. If you make a move, even if you manage to obtain it, you won't be able to stop the collapse. I'm sure that with his current madness, he will immediately detonate the star cultivation crystal. If it were 3 months ago, he probably wouldn't have given us the chance to play this game at all. He would have detonated the star cultivation crystal directly. Now, after much thought, he's given us this opportunity, which is already incredibly rare. Sai, if you had listened to me back then, we wouldn't be in this difficult position now. As Vermilion Bird Mountain split and the Vermilion Bird Tomb opened, Qianfeng was the first to rush out, turning into a long rainbow as he immediately charged into the tomb. Lume hesitated for a moment, sighed lightly, and entered the tomb second. Yun Keizi's gaze flickered as he scanned his surroundings. The Immortal Remnant Clan's young clan leader was silent. With a single step, he entered the tomb as well. At this moment, black mist surged in the sky. Members of the Immortal Remnant Clan appeared in large numbers, flying over from all directions. Clearly, they had learned of the situation through some special means. Without saying a word, they entered the Vermilion Bird Tomb, among them the old man with a hunchback who had once pursued Wang Lin into the spatial rift. The news of the Vermilion Bird Tomb opening spread across Vermilion Bird Star within 3 days. At the same time, rumors about the star cultivation crystal spread like wildfire. Everyone rushed to the Vermilion Bird Tomb to retrieve their life souls. This became the most important thing on every cultivator's mind. Cultivators scattered across Vermilion Bird Star hurried toward Vermilion Bird Nation, hoping to enter the Vermilion Bird Tomb. However, due to the strange power of the star cultivation crystal inside the tomb, if the number of entrants exceeds a certain limit, no more can enter. Thus, while many wished to enter, only a few actually made it inside. Zhou Wutai was one of those who entered, accompanied by the ever-veiled Zixin. On the 4th day, Wang Lin and Situ arrived at Vermilion Bird Mountain. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch had vanished, leaving behind only the star cultivation core in the air, which was slowly accumulating cracks. Yun Keizi and the others had also disappeared, their whereabouts unknown. Numerous cultivators and Immortal Remnant Clan members lingered around the mountain, occasionally casting their gazes toward the black passageway at the foot of Vermilion Bird Mountain. At this moment, they had lost all interest in fighting among themselves. Wang Lin gazed at the passageway below the mountain and slowly began to walk forward.